boy, oh boy, these two have stepped in it. Hey everyone, welcome to The Reckoning. We've all heard by now about the man who was caught in the kiss cam crime of the century at a Coldplay concert while he was loving on a lady who was not his wife, and you may have also heard that he was a big shot CEO, but you may not have heard all of the absolutely insane developments in the past couple of days up to just a couple hours ago. So allow me to enlighten you. Our story begins the evening of Wednesday, the 16th of July, at a Coldplay concert in Foxborough, Massachusetts, as the lead singer Chris Martin leads a familiar routine, which he calls the Jumbotron song, where he scans the crowd, or rather his camera people scan the crowd, and he sings a few lines about the people that the camera focuses on. They're usually innocuous, right? Today's first lucky winner was a man in a birthday sash. We had a couple people in banana costumes. But in between, viewers and, well, Chris Martin himself noticed something much stranger than a banana costume. A couple who had been featured momentarily, cuddling and smiling in an obviously intimate way. But when they noticed that they were being featured on said Jumbotron, they didn't look, as one might expect, excited or maybe bashful, but mortified, as though they had quite clearly just been caught in some kind of huge scandal. They were seen when they were not supposed to be. As they ducked out of the frame and the woman turned around, Chris Martin even commented either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. Let's watch this unfold.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
As it turns out, it was the latter. Their guilty reactions, ironically, were the thing that probably ended up getting them caught. Because these two, if they had just had the quick thinking to react casually and draw no attention to themselves, likely probably never would have been seen. This Coldplay concert moment would have flown so under the radar amidst the sea of endless media content being thrown at us all the time that it never would have been seen by the affected parties at all. They probably would have gotten away with this scot-free, but they did not react casually, and this did not end well for anyone involved. The mysterious couple in the clip circulated the internet for the next 48 hours and just grew and grew and grew. And soon after, on July 18th, internet sleuths started naming names with some confidence. As it turns out, this man here is Andy Byron, the founder and CEO of a billion-dollar AI software company called Astronomer, which I will not even attempt to explain the purpose of. All that AI software engineer stuff goes right over my head, so I'm not even going to try. But it's a very big company. It's worth over $1 billion, and the man who founded it is consequentially quite wealthy. But this wasn't like a super recognizable or high-profile guy. Nobody really recognized him at first. It was simply their reaction to being seen on this big Jumbotron that made people assume, oh, who are these guys? They must be having an affair. And what made this particular affair so extra scandalous is that the woman he was ultimately cheating on with his wife is one of his employees, Kristen Cabot, who was, ironically, head of HR at Astronomer. By the end of the day, the company could no longer afford to stay quiet and announced in a LinkedIn post that Andy Byron had been placed on leave and was currently under investigation, with Pete DeJoy, who was his co-founder of the company, stepping in as interim CEO in the process. But this investigation was a formality, it would seem, to give Andy some time to pen an apology and make the exit on his own terms, which he did the very next day. Astronomer posted the following message on X. As stated previously, Astronomer is committed to the values and culture that have guided us since our founding. Our leaders are expected to set the standard in both conduct and accountability, and recently that standard was not met. Andy Byron has tendered his resignation and the board of directors has accepted. The board will begin a search for our next chief executive as co-founder and chief product officer Pete DeJoy continues to serve as interim CEO. Notably, they also shut off the comments. And I can't say I blame them. The comments probably would have been full of people rightfully pointing out that the values and culture that guided them mustn't have been worth much if the founder was a liar and a cheater, and it's HR director whose job it is to stop stuff exactly like this from happening was too. So Andy Byron, despite being allowed to call it a resignation, has been fired from his job. And while we love that outcome for him, we also have to acknowledge that what he did to his wife, whose name is Megan, and children, his family, was terrible. Andy Byron had 2 sons and a wife who loved him, and the true impact, the consequence of this betrayal wasn't truly known until said wife Megan appeared in news reports that claimed that she had fled the family's $1.4 million estate in Massachusetts to go hide out in their $2.4 million estate in Maine. Damn, must be nice. Where friends and family were seen entering and leaving the house throughout the weekend. Meanwhile, several fake messages, this is important, have proliferated online that claim to be written by Megan Byron herself. But after an extensive review of all of these viral statements, some of which got hundreds of thousands of views, I can tell you with absolute certainty that not a single one of these is real. Megan Byron has not, in fact, given any sort of public statement as of today, Thursday, July 24th, the recording of this video. Her neighbors, interviewed by the Daily Mail, said that the family simply doesn't want to talk about it. A New York Post article, meanwhile, had reported on the 18th that she had a Facebook page featuring numerous happy photos with Andy and their 2 sons, which was deleted the day prior after the scandal blew up, and that she had apparently changed her name on that profile at one point from Megan Byron back to Megan Kerrigan, her maiden name, before doing so. But lest ye forget, there was another no-good cheating liar here, and let's not forget that she had a family that she destroyed as well. An anonymous tipster told the New York Post that her husband, Andrew Cabot, was actually away on a business trip the last several weeks in Japan and had returned just last Saturday of all times, that was the same day that the CEO was fired, you'll recall, returned to the States only to find that his life and marriage had completely blown up and that he and his wife's names were plastered across tabloids all over America. The source added that while the family is now telling their own community that they'd been having marriage troubles for some time and were discussing separating already, there was actually no visible indication of that outwardly, and in fact, only a few months ago, they had been gushing about how in love they were. Not only that, but the two also decided to buy a $2.2 million seaside home in New Hampshire, again, must be nice, just 5 months ago, which seems like a very odd financial choice for a couple that is discussing divorce. So I think that maybe this is a story that was concocted to help the wife save face, but that she really did just blow up this marriage, which is horrible and very sad. And to make matters even worse, much like in the case of our adulterous CEO, a picture of the couple from May 2024 reveals that they also have 2 kids, and they're much younger, it would seem, than the Byron kids, which only makes this worse. And if you thought she would somehow get away with this, I'm happy to tell you that you were wrong, because on Thursday, July 24th, a representative of Astronomer told TMZ that Kristen Cabot had been forced to resign from her job. And for the new CEO, co-founder Pete DeJoy, he was interviewed by NBC News on the 21st and seemed to express a desire to push ahead and leave all this in the past, but it also seemed almost weirdly happy in a way, like that the incident had made, he made this weird comment how Astronomer had quote, become a household name because of this. He also said that Astronomer cares deeply about doing things the right way. And again, I would just avoid saying anything like this for just a little while until this is blown over, because the jokes are writing themselves. All in all, these two thought they could get away with sneaking around behind their partners' backs, and in the end, almost as if by some bizarre twist of divine justice, they were exposed and punished not only financially, but socially in possibly the worst way, forced to face the shame and derision of the entire nation. And while I'm happy that these two have certainly been exposed for the dreadful people they really are, they got their reckoning, I feel terrible for the husband, the wife, and all four of these kids who were caught up in this and had to watch this play out. I mean, there's no way to avoid it. Stuff like this goes viral. There's no way to put the genie back in the bottle, right? But it's still a terrible thing to have to go through. I wish them all the best going forward. I hope there can be some healing in their families and some very clearly needed, honest discussions. As for me, I'll keep a close eye on this and see if we get any more developments here. Wouldn't really surprise me if we did, but it would appear that both of our goblins have been punished. They didn't do anything illegal here, so that's really the best punishment that I think we could hope for. Oh, and if you were wondering, this is just a last little addendum here. If you were wondering how Coldplay and Chris Martin have taken all this, this was the announcement he gave to the crowd just a couple of days ago at his latest concert before he did this whole show you on the Jumbotron thing.
We'd like to say hello to some of you in the crowd.
I love that everybody just starts cracking up in unison when they hear this.
How we're going to do that is we're going to use our cameras and put some of you on the big screen.
Okay, that's it for me for now. I'll see you guys around.